Imagine a woman who consistently spends time alone. No distractions, no interruptions. She's in complete solitude. At first glance, it might seem like she's simply introverted, maybe just recharging. But what if I told you that this woman, this very individual who embraces her solitude, could be one of the most dangerous people you'll ever encounter? When a person spends time alone, they are not merely passing time or filling a void. They are engaging in a deeply reflective process. Solitude creates an environment that is free of external noise, enabling one to hear the most important voice, their own. In the absence of other people's opinions, demands, and distractions, there's an opportunity to connect with one's inner world, to confront the raw truth of who they are, and to understand the forces that drive them. In these moments of solitude, clarity begins to emerge. Without the pull of society's expectations, the constant need for approval, or the pressures of fitting in, a person has the space to see themselves and their life through a clearer lens. They begin to understand what truly matters to them, not what others think should matter. They might reflect on their past, not to dwell on mistakes, but to identify patterns of behavior, desires, and choices that have shaped their present self. The process of self-discovery is often messy and uncomfortable. It requires honest self-reflection, which is not always pleasant. But it is through this discomfort that true growth occurs. The act of sitting with one's own thoughts, feelings, and desires without the distraction of the outside world forces one to face their vulnerabilities. It's in solitude that someone begins to recognize their strengths, their weaknesses, and the areas in which they need to change or grow. They start to understand their core values, beliefs, and passions, those things that make them uniquely themselves. In solitude, a person has the time and space to ask themselves profound questions. What do I want from my life? What are my non-negotiable values? What dreams have I neglected because I was too busy living for others or fulfilling societal expectations? This self-inquiry, free from interruption, often leads to epiphanies, to moments of profound insight that were previously obscured by the noise of everyday life. Moreover, solitude offers the rare opportunity to disconnect from the influences of others and truly trust one's own intuition. It becomes a sanctuary where decision-making shifts from being externally driven, guided by the approval or disapproval of others, into an internally motivated process, powered by personal clarity. It is in solitude that individuals are most likely to hear the quiet, inner voice of their true self, the one that has been drowned out by external influences for so long. This voice guides them towards their passions, desires, and authentic aspirations. The peace that comes with solitude also enables a deeper understanding of one's emotions. With no distractions, people can explore their feelings with greater precision. Rather than reacting in the heat of a moment, solitude allows them to pause, reflect, and understand their emotional responses. It's during these solitary moments that they can uncover the roots of their fears, insecurities, and anxieties, enabling them to approach life with a clearer and more grounded sense of self. As they begin to piece together the various aspects of themselves, their strengths, their flaws, their desires, and their fears, a new level of self-awareness takes form. This self-awareness becomes a foundation for making more intentional decisions, for leading a life that aligns with their true essence, rather than merely responding to external circumstances. Through solitude, a person gains the ability to see the bigger picture of their life. The noise of the world fades, and what remains is the truth of their own heart. In that space, they can begin to chart a path forward, based on their own aspirations rather than the fleeting desires or pressures of the moment. It is in this solitude that they truly find themselves, not just in the quiet moments, but in the way those moments shape and redefine their understanding of who they are and what they want from life. Independent thought is not simply the ability to think on your own. It is the art of questioning everything and thinking critically about the world around you. In a society where conformity is often celebrated and groupthink dominates the public discourse, independent thought becomes both a rare and essential skill. It is the capacity to resist the gravitational pull of societal norms and expectations, and to forge a path that is authentically your own, grounded in your own understanding of the world. At the core of independent thought is the willingness to challenge the status quo, to ask questions that others might be too hesitant to ask, or to reject ideas that do not align with one's own beliefs or observations. Independent thinkers are not swayed easily by the opinions of others. They are guided by their own reason, logic, and reflection, rather than by the prevailing sentiments of the masses. They dare to explore new perspectives, to entertain ideas that might be unconventional or even unpopular, simply because they believe in the power of their own reasoning. When we embrace independent thought, we are empowered to make decisions for ourselves. We stop relying on others to tell us what to do, what to believe, or how to behave. Instead, we cultivate the ability to evaluate information, weigh evidence, and arrive at conclusions that are deeply rooted in our own judgment. In a world filled with distractions, advertisements, and the constant noise of external opinions, independent thought allows us to filter out the irrelevant and focus on what is truly important to us. This power extends beyond individual decision-making. It fosters creativity, innovation, and problem-solving. When someone thinks independently, they are not confined by the limitations of conventional wisdom or popular opinion. They are free to explore new ideas, experiment with new approaches, and come up with solutions that others might overlook. Independent thinkers are often the pioneers, the visionaries who create something entirely new by seeing possibilities where others see only limitations. Moreover, independent thought fosters a deep sense of confidence. The more we trust our own minds, the less we rely on validation from others. This self-reliance breeds self-assurance, which is crucial for navigating a world that often seeks to impose its own ideas of success, worth, and happiness. Independent thinkers are not afraid to stand alone, to pursue paths that others may deem risky or unconventional. They understand that their value lies in their unique perspective and the strength of their convictions. One of the most powerful aspects of independent thought is its ability to break free from mental and societal constraints. We are often taught to follow a prescribed path, go to school, get a job, climb the corporate ladder, and so on. While these paths can be fulfilling for some, they are not the only way to live a meaningful life. Independent thinkers understand that there are countless ways to shape a life that aligns with their own vision and values, and they are willing to question traditional paths if they do not resonate with them. Independent thought also allows us to detach from the noise of external opinions. In a world where social media, news outlets, and even our own social circles constantly bombard us with information, it can be easy to adopt the opinions and beliefs of those around us without ever questioning them. Independent thinkers, however, are able to tune out the noise and engage with ideas critically. They do not passively accept information. They actively engage with it, considering its source, its validity, and its relevance to their own lives. This process of engaging with ideas critically leads to a deeper understanding of the world and of ourselves. It sharpens our reasoning skills, challenges our biases, and encourages us to grow intellectually. Independent thought is not about simply disagreeing with others or rebelling for the sake of rebellion. It is about cultivating a mindset that constantly questions, evaluates, and seeks to understand on a deeper level. This intellectual curiosity drives us to continuously learn, adapt, and improve our thinking. Furthermore, independent thought fosters resilience. In a world that constantly tells us how to think, how to feel, and what to believe, it can be easy to feel lost or overwhelmed. But the more we cultivate independent thought, the more we build a strong internal compass that can guide us through uncertainty and doubt. When we think for ourselves, we are better equipped to handle challenges, make decisions, and adapt to change, because we are not relying on others to tell us how to think or what to do. Independent thought also cultivates a sense of personal responsibility. When we think independently, we take ownership of our thoughts, beliefs, and actions. We understand that we are responsible for the conclusions we draw and the choices we make. This sense of responsibility empowers us to take charge of our own lives, rather than passively allowing others to dictate our direction. In relationships, independent thought fosters respect for differing perspectives. When we engage with others who think independently, we do not feel threatened by their opinions. Instead, we embrace the opportunity to learn from them, to challenge our own assumptions, and to grow intellectually. Independent thinkers understand that diversity of thought is not a threat, but a source of enrichment. They are willing to engage in thoughtful debate, to listen with an open mind, and to consider viewpoints that may challenge their own. In the workplace, independent thought is a powerful catalyst for innovation and progress. Employees who think independently bring fresh ideas to the table, ask difficult questions, and push boundaries. They are not afraid to propose new solutions to old problems, and they are willing to take risks in pursuit of creative breakthroughs. Leaders who foster a culture of independent thought inspire their teams to think critically, take ownership of their work, and approach challenges with a sense of curiosity and innovation. Ultimately, the power of independent thought lies in its ability to liberate us from the constraints of conformity and enable us to live authentically. When we trust our own reasoning, our own judgments, and our own insights, we step into our full potential as individuals. Independent thought is the foundation of personal growth, creativity, and meaningful contribution to the world. It is the spark that ignites change, drives innovation, and empowers us to live a life that is truly our own. Emotional resilience is not something that happens overnight. It is forged in the quietest, most personal moments of our lives, the moments when we are alone with our thoughts, our fears, and our emotions. Solitude offers a unique environment for emotional growth. It is in these times of solitude that we are able to face our inner struggles, confront our vulnerabilities, and build the emotional strength needed to navigate life's challenges. Unlike the noise and distractions of the outside world, solitude allows us to turn inward, to confront the complexities of our emotional landscapes without the interference of others' judgments or opinions. When we are alone, we have the rare opportunity to reflect on our emotional experiences with clarity. Solitude provides the space to process our feelings, to analyze situations that may have caused us pain, and to reflect on our reactions. Often, in the hustle and bustle of daily life, we move too quickly from one experience to the next, rarely taking the time to understand our emotional responses. But in solitude, we slow down, we pause, and we engage in a deeper level of emotional introspection. This reflection is crucial for emotional resilience because it helps us understand not only what we are feeling, but also why we are feeling it. In these solitary moments, we can ask ourselves difficult questions. What triggered this emotion? Why did I react the way I did? How can I better cope with similar situations in the future? This self-inquiry is a critical part of emotional growth. It allows us to dissect our emotions, to separate them from external influences, and to gain a clearer understanding of our emotional triggers and patterns. By identifying these patterns, we can begin to make conscious choices about how we respond to emotional situations, rather than merely reacting out of habit or impulse. Solitude also teaches us to sit with discomfort. When we are alone, there is no one else to distract us from our emotions. We must face them head-on without the immediate comfort of external support or distraction. This can be challenging, especially when dealing with difficult emotions like sadness, anger, fear, or grief. But it is in this discomfort that emotional resilience is developed. By allowing ourselves to feel and process these emotions without avoidance or denial, we strengthen our ability to handle difficult feelings in the future. Instead of suppressing or numbing our emotions, we learn to accept them, to understand them, and to use them as sources of growth. The process of sitting with our emotions in solitude can also lead to emotional acceptance. Many people spend their lives running from difficult feelings, afraid of the intensity or the vulnerability they may bring. Solitude allows us to change our relationship with our emotions. Rather than seeing them as threats or weaknesses, we begin to see them as natural and necessary parts of the human experience. In solitude, we come to understand that it is okay to feel and that these feelings do not define us. We are not our emotions, but we are shaped by how we respond to them. Learning to navigate these emotions with grace and self-compassion is at the heart of emotional resilience. Through solitude, we also learn to develop emotional self-sufficiency. While external support from others is important, emotional resilience requires an inner strength that comes from within. Solitude teaches us to trust ourselves, to rely on our own emotional resources, and to believe in our ability to weather life's storms. When we are alone, we are not reliant on others for emotional validation or comfort. We learn to soothe ourselves, to regulate our own emotions, and to find strength in our own company. This sense of self-reliance fosters a deeper sense of emotional stability, as we recognize that we are capable of handling whatever life throws our way. Moreover, solitude allows us to learn the art of emotional regulation. When we are alone, we can practice self-control over our emotions, learning how to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. In moments of solitude, we have the time to reflect on our emotional triggers and work through strategies to cope with them. Whether it's through mindfulness, meditation, journaling, or simply taking a deep breath, solitude gives us the opportunity to refine our emotional responses and build healthier, more balanced coping mechanisms. As we spend more time alone, we also become more attuned to our emotional needs. Solitude allows us to recognize when we are feeling overwhelmed, stressed, or emotionally drained. In a world that often values productivity over well-being, it can be easy to ignore or suppress our emotional needs. But solitude encourages us to check in with ourselves, to acknowledge our feelings, and to give ourselves the space to rest, recover, and rejuvenate. This awareness of our emotional needs is an essential aspect of emotional resilience because it helps us prevent burnout and avoid emotional exhaustion. Furthermore, the solitude that fosters emotional resilience is not always a solitary retreat. It can be a conscious decision to carve out space for ourselves in the midst of our busy lives. It is the ability to step back, to disconnect from the demands of others, and to create boundaries that allow us to recharge emotionally. Solitude is not about isolation or avoidance, but about reclaiming our emotional well-being and allowing ourselves the time and space to process, heal, and grow. As we continue to spend time alone, we develop a deeper understanding of our emotional landscape and how to navigate it with resilience. We become more adaptable, more capable of bouncing back from setbacks, and more equipped to handle the uncertainties and challenges of life. We learn that emotional resilience is not about being immune to pain or hardship, but about developing the strength to face those challenges with courage, patience, and self-compassion. In the end, emotional resilience built in solitude is not just about surviving difficult emotions. It is about thriving in the face of adversity. It is about cultivating an inner strength that allows us to face life's ups and downs with grace, to stay grounded even when the world feels chaotic, and to move forward with a sense of peace and self-assurance. Solitude becomes not just a refuge, but a powerful tool for emotional growth and empowerment. It is in the quiet moments, away from the noise and distractions of the world, that we truly discover the depth of our emotional resilience. The greatest fear that many people face is not failure, but the fear of untapped potential, the fear of what could be, but isn't. This fear exists in the spaces between what we know we are capable of and what we have yet to achieve. It is an invisible force that holds us back, not because we lack the ability to succeed, but because we cannot fully grasp the vastness of what we are truly capable of achieving. So the potential within us is often unseen, buried beneath layers of self-doubt, fear of the unknown, and the constraints of comfort. But it's this very unseen potential that, when realized, can transform not just our own lives, but the world around us. When we begin to look at our lives, we may be acutely aware of the things we have already accomplished and the skills we have developed. We feel comfortable within the confines of these achievements because they are tangible, measurable, and often externally validated. But the potential that lies within us is far more expansive and elusive. It exists outside of the boundaries of our current understanding, beyond the limits of what we've already done or even thought possible. This is the potential that often scares us. The possibility of becoming more than we ever imagined, of breaking free from the person we have become to embrace the person we have yet to meet. The fear of this unseen potential often stems from uncertainty. What would happen if we truly unleashed everything we are capable of? What if we step into a new version of ourselves, one that is unknown and undefined? The unknown is terrifying, especially when it holds the potential for greatness, or, conversely, the risk of failure. The mind has a tendency to focus on the risks rather than the rewards, which makes us wary of taking that first step into uncharted territory. We ask ourselves, what if I'm not ready, or what if I fail in a way I can't recover from? But this fear is often irrational. The truth is, we can never know the full extent of our potential until we take that leap into the unknown. Our potential is like a seed. It needs space, time, and sometimes even a little bit of pressure to grow. However, in order for that seed to reach its fullest form, we must first take the risk of planting it and nurturing it through uncertainty. Uncertainty, this is where fear often makes its entrance. It convinces us that we are not equipped to handle the growth process, that the discomfort of transformation is a sign that we should retreat back into the safety of what we already know. The fear of unseen potential is not always a conscious one. It often manifests in subtler ways: procrastination, self-sabotage, or the comfort of routine. We may not even recognize that the very thing holding us back is the fear of discovering what we are truly capable of. It is easier to stay in a place of familiarity, even if that place no longer serves us, than to venture into the unknown where our deepest capabilities await. The mind tells us that playing it safe is a more rational choice, even though it limits our ability to tap into our full potential. In some ways, this fear is a form of self-protection. By staying in our comfort zones, we shield ourselves from the discomfort of confronting our own limitations. But this comes at a cost. The longer we stay within these self-imposed boundaries, the more we suppress the parts of ourselves that are yearning to be discovered. The fear of stepping into our true potential often holds us in a perpetual state of almost reaching the next level, almost realizing our dreams, almost breaking through to something greater. But almost is never enough. It keeps us stuck in a perpetual cycle of longing and regret, wondering what might have been if we had only dared to fully show up for ourselves. Part of the fear of unseen potential is the fear of change itself. Our potential, when realized, can bring about profound changes in our lives, changes in our relationships, our careers, our self-identity, and even our values. Change is inherently disruptive, and while it can lead to extraordinary growth, it also comes with a sense of loss. When we tap into our fullest potential, we may have to let go of old habits, outdated beliefs, and even relationships that no longer align with our higher purpose. This process of shedding the old to make space for the new can feel like a loss, which intensifies our fear of moving forward. Moreover, the fear of unseen potential is often rooted in the comparison to others. We look around and see people who seem to have it all figured out, who have already achieved the success, recognition, and fulfillment that we dream of. The fear of stepping into our own potential is exacerbated by the thought that we might not measure up to these external standards, or that we might fall short of the expectations we place on ourselves. This comparison can paralyze us, keeping us stuck in a cycle of self-doubt and avoidance. We see the gap between where we are and where we could be, and that gap becomes a chasm too wide to cross. The fear of not being good enough, of failing to live up to our own vision of success, holds us back from even attempting to step into the fullness of who we are meant to be. This fear can also be amplified by our past experiences. If we have tried to reach for something greater in the past and faced rejection, failure, or disappointment, those experiences can cast a shadow over our belief in our own potential. We may begin to associate the pursuit of our potential with inevitable failure, believing that the journey is not worth the pain of possible setbacks. Yet what we fail to recognize is that failure is often a necessary part of realizing our potential. It is not the end of the road, but rather a stepping stone that allows us to grow stronger, more resilient, and more aware of our true capabilities. The fear of unseen potential is also tightly bound to the fear of responsibility. To truly unlock our potential means taking full responsibility for our actions, our choices, and the impact we have on the world. It means accepting that we have the power to shape our own destiny and influence those around us. This sense of responsibility can feel overwhelming, especially if we've been conditioned to believe that we are not worthy of such influence or that we are not capable of handling the consequences of our actions. The weight of this responsibility can make us hesitate, even when we know that stepping into our potential would lead to greater fulfillment. Ultimately, the fear of unseen potential keeps us confined to a life that is smaller than we deserve. It limits our vision, stifles our dreams, and holds us back from becoming the person we are truly meant to be. But in order to break free from this fear, we must first recognize it for what it is: an illusion. Our potential is not something to fear, but something to embrace. It is the gateway to growth, transformation, and a life that is more expansive and meaningful than we could ever imagine. Social norms are the unwritten rules that govern the behavior of individuals within a society. These norms are established over time, influenced by culture, tradition, and collective expectations. They dictate what is considered acceptable or unacceptable, normal or deviant. For many, these norms offer a sense of security and belonging. They create a framework that guides people in their interactions and helps maintain a level of social cohesion. However, the ability to challenge these social norms is a powerful force that can drive change, foster innovation, and ultimately reshape the very fabric of society. Challenging social norms requires courage. The courage to question the status quo and to stand apart from the crowd. It requires the recognition that just because something has always been done a certain way doesn't necessarily make it right or beneficial. Many of the greatest breakthroughs in history, whether in science, art, politics, or culture, have come from individuals who were willing to challenge the norms of their time. These individuals didn't accept the prevailing wisdom as absolute truth. Instead, they looked at the world through a different lens, one that allowed them to imagine possibilities beyond the limitations imposed by society. To challenge social norms, one must first have the awareness to see them. Social norms often operate in the background, shaping behavior in subtle and insidious ways. From the way we dress to the language we use, the way we work, and even the way we love, norms are deeply ingrained in the systems that govern our lives. The difficulty lies in recognizing when these norms are limiting us. They may appear as innocent customs or traditions, but over time they can perpetuate systems of inequality, injustice, or conformity that prevent individuals from reaching their full potential. Breaking free from these constraints begins with questioning why certain norms exist in the first place. Why do we accept certain ways of thinking, feeling, and acting without ever challenging them? Often social norms are tied to a deep sense of tradition or historical precedent. People may resist change because they fear that challenging a norm will undermine the stability of society. There may also be a fear of judgment or exclusion. Society tends to reward conformity and punish deviation. But when we begin to question why things are the way they are, we open the door to new possibilities. We begin to realize that many of these norms have simply been accepted because they have existed for a long time, not because they are inherently valuable or just. The ability to challenge social norms also requires a certain level of emotional resilience. To go against the grain, to resist the pull of societal expectations, often comes with a cost. Individuals who challenge norms may face criticism, ostracism, or even ridicule. The pressure to conform is powerful, and the fear of standing out can be paralyzing. It's much easier to blend in, to follow the well-trodden path that others have paved before you. However, those who dare to challenge the norms often find that the rewards are well worth the risk. They are the ones who create new movements, introduce revolutionary ideas, and inspire others to think differently. Their actions ripple through society, creating change that might not have been possible if everyone had adhered to the same set of norms. One of the most profound ways to challenge social norms is by redefining the concept of success. Society often equates success with specific milestones: academic achievement, career advancement, material wealth, or societal recognition. These metrics of success are ingrained in our culture and are taught from a young age. However, not everyone finds fulfillment in these conventional markers. Some people may feel unfulfilled or disconnected from these ideals, yet they continue to pursue them out of a sense of duty or expectation. The ability to challenge social norms comes when individuals redefine success on their own terms. When they break free from the idea that success is only defined by what society deems important. When people begin to define success by their own values, passions, and dreams, they break the shackles of societal pressure and create new possibilities for themselves and others. Challenging social norms also plays a critical role in advancing social justice. Many social norms have been used to uphold systems of power, privilege, and oppression. Gender roles, racial stereotypes, class distinctions. These norms have been historically used to marginalize certain groups of people. For centuries, these norms were so deeply embedded in society that they were rarely questioned. However, movements for civil rights, gender equality, and LGBTQ+ rights have demonstrated the immense power of challenging these social norms. When individuals refuse to accept norms that perpetuate inequality, they become agents of change. By challenging these ingrained beliefs, they create space for more inclusive and equitable societies. One of the most powerful tools for challenging social norms is the use of dialogue and discourse. When we engage in conversations that question societal assumptions, we create an opportunity for others to think critically about the world around them. Social norms thrive in silence, in the absence of conversation that calls them into question. But when we ask why and what if, we invite others to reflect on the values and behaviors that shape their lives. Sometimes challenging a norm is not about outright rejection, but about inviting others to reconsider its relevance or impact in a changing world. It's about introducing new perspectives and fostering an open-mindedness that allows for growth and transformation. Art and culture also play a vital role in challenging social norms. Throughout history, artists, writers, musicians, and filmmakers have used their platforms to challenge societal conventions and to express ideas that go against the grain. Art has the ability to communicate in ways that reach people on an emotional level, bypassing the defenses that social norms build in the mind. Through art, individuals can create worlds where norms are bent or broken, where new ways of thinking and being are explored. Whether through literature, film, or visual arts, these forms of expression have the power to disrupt complacency and spark conversations about what is possible. In the workplace, challenging social norms is equally important. In many industries, the norms surrounding power dynamics, hierarchy, and work culture can be stifling and limiting. People may feel pressure to conform to traditional ideas of leadership, teamwork, or success, even if those ideas do not align with their values or aspirations. The ability to challenge these norms can lead to a more inclusive, innovative, and flexible work environment. Organizations that embrace diversity of thought and encourage individuals to challenge the status quo often find that they are better equipped to adapt to change, solve problems creatively, and foster a sense of belonging among employees. The ability to challenge social norms is ultimately about embracing change and growth. It requires the willingness to disrupt the status quo and to envision a future that is not limited by the constraints of today's societal expectations. It requires the courage to step into the unknown, to question the things that everyone else takes for granted, and to take action that aligns with one's own values and beliefs. Those who have the ability to challenge social norms are the ones who push the boundaries of what is possible and create space for new ideas, new ways of thinking, and new ways of being. They are the visionaries, the trailblazers, the ones who inspire others to believe that change is not only possible but necessary. Through their actions, they help to shape a world that is more open, more inclusive, and more attuned to the needs and potential of all its people. Leadership is often associated with loud voices, bold decisions, and visible actions. In the typical narrative, the most effective leaders are the ones who are charismatic, outspoken, and constantly in the spotlight. They inspire through their boldness and directness, commanding attention in every room they enter. However, there exists another type of leader, one who leads not with noise, but with quiet strength, deep reflection, and a willingness to transform both themselves and the people around them. This is the quiet leader, the one who leads by example rather than declaration, who embodies the power of silence, introspection, and intentional change. A quiet leader does not shy away from responsibility, but rather embraces it in a way that is thoughtful and grounded. They understand that leadership is not about forcing their will on others, but about guiding, supporting, and empowering those they lead. Their strength comes from a deep sense of self-awareness and emotional intelligence, traits that allow them to navigate complex situations with grace and poise. Right? Rather than seeking the approval of others or trying to prove their worth, the quiet leader focuses on the deeper impact they can have through meaningful, purposeful action. They lead with a calm confidence that invites others to trust them, not because of their loud declarations, but because of their quiet consistency and reliability. The quiet leader is deeply aware of the need for transformation, not only within the systems or organizations they lead, but within themselves as well. Transformation is an ongoing process, and those who are ready for it understand that it starts from within. The quiet leader is not content with the status quo. They know that growth requires change, and they embrace this discomfort, knowing that it is through facing challenges, confronting their own limitations, and reflecting on their experiences that true transformation occurs. They approach leadership with a growth mindset, recognizing that their journey is one of continuous learning, adaptation, and evolution. One of the most powerful aspects of a quiet leader is their ability to listen. In a world that often values speaking over listening, the quiet leader understands the profound impact of truly hearing others. They take the time to understand the perspectives, concerns, and ideas of those around them. They create an environment where people feel safe to share, knowing that their thoughts will be valued and respected. By listening, the quiet leader gains insight into the needs of their team, the challenges they face, and the opportunities for improvement. This deep listening enables the quiet leader to make informed, thoughtful decisions that reflect the true needs of their people. In addition to listening, the quiet leader also understands the power of observation. They do not rush to act impulsively or reactively. Instead, they observe the dynamics within their teams and the environment around them. They take note of the subtle cues, the unspoken tensions, the emerging opportunities, and the underlying motivations that others might overlook. This keen observation allows the quiet leader to make decisions with precision and foresight, ensuring that they are addressing the right issues at the right time. They do not rely on external validation or quick wins. Rather, they trust their instincts and their ability to understand the situation at a deeper level. A quiet leader's ability to transform is also rooted in their sense of humility. They do not seek to dominate or control, but instead they seek to serve. They understand that leadership is not about personal glory or recognition, but about contributing to the greater good. This humility allows the quiet leader to foster a culture of collaboration and mutual respect, where the contributions of every individual are valued and celebrated. They do not see themselves as above others, but rather as part of a collective effort to achieve a shared vision. This approach to leadership inspires loyalty and trust, as people feel seen and heard by a leader who values their input and believes in their potential. The quiet leader also understands the importance of patience. Transformation, whether at the individual or organizational level, does not happen overnight. It is a gradual, sometimes messy process that requires time, effort, and resilience. The quiet leader is willing to put in the work even when the results are not immediately visible. They do not seek shortcuts or quick fixes. Instead, they commit to long-term growth and improvement. They know that true transformation requires persistence, and they are willing to stay the course, even when faced with setbacks or obstacles. Their patience becomes a source of strength, both for themselves and for those they lead. Another key trait of the quiet leader is their ability to lead with empathy. They recognize that every person is different, with their own strengths, weaknesses, and life experiences. The quiet leader does not impose a one-size-fits-all approach to leadership. Instead, they take the time to understand the unique needs of each individual, offering support and guidance that is tailored to their specific circumstances. They do not approach challenges with a sense of superiority or judgment, but with compassion and a desire to help others grow. This empathy fosters a deep sense of connection between the quiet leader and their team, creating an environment where people feel valued and understood. Despite their quiet demeanor, the quiet leader is not passive. They are not content to simply observe the world around them. They are active agents of change. However, their approach to change is strategic and intentional. Rather than reacting impulsively or following the latest trends, they take the time to reflect on what changes are necessary and how those changes can be implemented in a sustainable and meaningful way. The quiet leader understands that transformation is not just about making noise, but about making an impact. They lead with purpose, clarity, and direction, guiding others toward a vision of the future that is built on trust, respect, and shared values. The quiet leader also recognizes that transformation is not a solitary endeavor. While they may be introspective and self-reflective, they understand the importance of building relationships and fostering a sense of community. They create an environment where collaboration and open communication are encouraged, where diverse perspectives are welcomed, and where everyone is empowered to contribute to the collective transformation. The quiet leader knows that true change happens when people come together with a shared sense of purpose and a commitment to working toward a common goal. In many ways, the quiet leader represents a shift in how we think about leadership. They challenge the traditional notion that leaders must be loud, forceful, and constantly in the spotlight. Instead, they show us that leadership can be just as powerful when it is grounded in humility, patience, empathy, and a willingness to embrace transformation. The quiet leader may not seek the spotlight, but their impact is undeniable. They transform not through loud speeches or grand gestures, but through the quiet, consistent work of self-awareness, reflection, and intentional action. Their transformation is not just about changing the world around them, but about changing themselves in a way that enables them to lead others with authenticity, compassion, and vision. In conclusion, the quiet leader embodies a transformative approach to leadership that is rooted in introspection, empathy, and an unwavering commitment to growth. Unlike traditional models of leadership that emphasize outward visibility and assertive dominance, the quiet leader thrives in the power of subtlety and depth. Through their ability to listen, observe, and patiently guide, they create environments where individuals can flourish, collaborate, and contribute to a greater collective vision. Their humility and emotional resilience not only foster trust, but also inspire those around them to step into their own potential. In embracing their capacity for transformation, both personally and within their teams, they prove that leadership does not always need to be loud to be impactful. The quiet leader leads through authenticity, understanding, and a deep sense of purpose, leaving an indelible mark on the world through the strength of their actions rather than the volume of their voice.